Alright, this time on Captain Chaos's Laboratory, we're going to be working on this piece, which is Night Before Christmas from Disney. Winnie the Pooh, elements based on E.H. Shepard, trademark Disney, Bradford Exchange. There we go, it's in the lower right hand corner. Anyhow, this has batteries, as well as an option for an adapter, which is DC 4.5 volts. And we have the volume and selector and button, and then off on. So this one is the lights. If I press the button, nothing happens. Nothing from the volume knob. If I flip the switch the other way, got the lights.
Was the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hot.
So the reason it's on the bench is it didn't work until it was shipped to me. And then somehow in shipping, it started working. So I'm thinking it's got a loose connection inside, because it's worked for me, and then somebody else here pressed it. It wouldn't play. We just shook it, put it back down, and started playing again. So I think there's a loose connection either in the battery box connection for the mechanism, maybe the speaker, circuit board, sorry, the speaker. So we're going to open it up and take a look. I got my phone back, so we're going to use the phone. And what I'm going to do first is you can see the seams right here to take off the plastic backer, because this is resin. Then this bottom piece has got a seam as well, and 2 screws, and then of course there's the battery box, which is probably glued in. But we're going to open up the battery box and see if there's a screw underneath it, because some battery boxes will put a screw in the center. No screw. Alright, because to me the least invasive way to get into this, because I don't want to damage it, because it's a heavy piece too. It's not a bad looking piece, and I don't want to just take this off and risk damaging with a heat gun the print of what they say in the Night Before Christmas. So I'm going to see about trying to pop the battery box out first. And worst case, I'll take these 2 screws out and see if I can free this up and still keep this backer in its place. Looking through the battery box clip right here, I can see the wires that come down probably from the lights on the roof and the edges of the eaves. So first I'm going to do, before I apply any heat and risk damaging this, is I'm going to poke it and see if this battery box will break free, because I'm sure it's just glued in. So I'm looking to see if I have any edges that I can fit something under, because that's a decent size hole. It only comes in maybe 1/8 of an inch for this flange to adhere. And because this battery box is opaque, I can see there's no screws coming in from the other side. But I do need to tip it just a little bit here so I can see. Looks like the speaker is also attached to the battery box, so the speaker is right here. There's about 50% of it in this arc. The other 50% is right here above this AA. I can see the glue. There's a hole. And I'd find one, because I can see the glue where they've smeared it out too far right in this area, because this is, like I said, it's just glued in. Slowly working my way around. Because if it's just a bad solder connection, it should be relatively easy to fix. Like this back is actually wood instead of plastic, like a balsa wood. Almost all the way around. There we go. It's yeah, it's a fiber board with a coating, paint coating. This is just hot glue. And make sure we got a good connection. Good. Everything in here that goes up to the lights has a Molex connector, which is nice. This is the Molex connector. And to prevent you from yanking, they actually glued the wires together and then glued them to the back of the Molex connector. That's very smart, because somebody might yank this out and pull. So instead of ripping the wires out, you'll hopefully just disconnect the two connectors, because there's no glue on the connector. That's actually really, really smart. But looking inside, all the wires that go up in here to the Molex connectors for all the lights goes down to this box, and this box is the one with the screws, and that might be the reason why it has the screws, is because that's where they're housing the hidden circuit board. Most of these, not this specific style, the circuit boards are usually attached to the back of the battery box because you have a lot of surface area, but in this case they attach the speaker, and it's an 8 ohm half watt speaker. It's the same speaker they put in all the Lemax pieces and half of the Mr. Christmas and Department 56 of certain eras. So, I'm going to take the screws out to start and see if the bottom just unscrews to the point where I can open it without trying to pry it free from its resin. I honestly think it's just a bad connection. Oh yeah, there's the circuit board with the blob chip right there, and it is dirty. Look at that. Oh man, that is one dirty circuit board. So that might be the problem. We might just have some arcing and bad contacts due to the corrosion. Helps if I put the battery in right. I'm not putting all three in because when I clean this, I do not want any power going into the circuitry. So I'm just going to put the 2 in for now. Alright, so I got my magnifying specs on, and they did the same thing here. They put glue on all the contacts, so if you were to yank this board out, you're less likely to break the wires at the solder joints. Very, very smart. So I'm going to lift the wires. They're semi-stuck, so I'm using this to help push them over. And make sure all the solder joints look good. Make sure I have no separating tracks. Could be a bad button, which is possible. With these being covered in glue, they're sealed from the elements. These over here are not covered in glue, and this one is corroded. That's corroding. Well, these are just grounds, but they're corroding. These three are corroding. So I'm thinking the problem is literally just corroding contacts from age. I don't even know how old this thing is. It just says the Bradford exchange, and it says 01/13/997/001. So I don't know. Copyright Disney, there's no dates. Bradford exchange. And there's nothing on the bottom. The bottom is just a solid piece of white resin. So this could be corrosion from age, moisture, combination, the dust that's gotten in here, because dust can conduct electricity. I want to take a look at the other side of the circuit board, because that probably has other components on it, or potentially does, besides the switches and connector. So we're going to unscrew this. So if you have this piece or anything similar, don't take the battery box out. I just assumed they would have the circuit board floating in the bigger body and not attached to the bottom. Alright, this circuit board is dated 2015, so this thing is approximately 8 years old, because this circuit board was manufactured January 5th of 2015. It is currently February 7th of 2023. So, the circuit board again is about 8 years old. So that means this is about 8 years old. There is just so much dirt. Which is fine. I'm not dirt shaming people. I purposely don't clean my Limax pieces because it's Halloween, so I think the dust adds to the motif. And so we'll look at the capacitor, make sure it looks okay. It doesn't appear to be bulged, it's not leaking. So I'm going to touch up some of these solder joints once I clean off the dust. This is a soft bristled toothbrush. I have them in soft, medium, and hard, not for brushing teeth, but for cleaning components. Yeah, this has just got a lot of corrosion here, here, and here. The tracks are corroding. So I think the reason she's having intermittent issues is the corrosion. Just there's so much of it. So this is isopropyl alcohol. If you haven't seen it in any of my previous videos, it's 99%. It's a 1 gallon jug. Works great for cleaning electronics. Just to be safe that there is no transfer on a different circuit, I'm just going to pop it back out again. Knock off the excess because I want to clean these tracks. See if I can get some of this surface corrosion off. Now you can buy a coating. They sell circuit board coatings that you can buy. They work and they don't work at the same time. They do work, but the problem with them is if you apply them wrong and get a moisture pocket underneath them, or you need to replace a component down the road, it makes it really difficult to do so. Oh, that looks a lot better, just getting the corrosion off. So I'm wondering if some of the corrosion wasn't causing it to arc between contacts, so the button wasn't connecting because the button was detecting was being read as an always on or always off position and not allowing the play to do its thing. The play meaning the play of the audio track. Of course, you got your blob chips, you don't know what it is, and if you try and melt the resin off, it destroys the chip, so you never can read it. You know, blah, blah, blah. As far as it goes, here's your sound amplifier chip, which is technically replaceable if it burned out. It's attached to the same area as the wheel, so the wheel solders through here, and then these 3 tracks here go around and come back to the chip there. This one comes directly to the chip. That one comes off the blob chip. So, but there's your sound amplifier chip, and I bet you if you trace them back to these different pins, you're going to get the speaker. Let's see. So this black and red wire is BT minus and plus, that's your power. These 2 white wires that have nothing written, I'm assuming, are the speaker, and they are white wires right there. So, because there's no letters, because we got V2, VD, C2, C1, C0, A3, A2, A1, B0, B3, B2, but the 2 white wires have nothing. So that indicates to me that those 2 white wires were your speaker. So all those connections are good. The corrosion is gone now, so that's really nice. That's going to help out a lot. So now I'm going to check the solder joints. Piece of paper towel stuck on the pins. Tracks look good. Solder joints look a lot better now that they're not covered in corrosion. I think the problem that she was having is probably right here where the button is, because this pin here and this pin here are 2 different pins, but this pin and this pin are soldered together, and the corrosion was jumping them together, so the button acted as if it was shorted out, which is probably why she was having a problem with the sound. Being the lights continually worked. So now if the corrosion's cleaned out, make sure there's nothing in the gap still. Everything else looks good. I got the gap cleaned out of any stuff that was between it. Just double checking the rest. I'm pulling out pieces of debris, dust, dirt. That's broke free from the brush when I was brushing along the edge. Wheel feels good. Yeah. Just corrosion. Let's see how it works now. So this one, hopefully, will be just a simple take it apart, clean it, versus some of the other ones that take forever because they need to be modified or custom parts need to be ordered or made. Let's get that dried out. Amazon batteries.
What was the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mom in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away!
She's working good. Solder joints actually don't look bad. I thought I might have had a cold solder joint, but solder joints look great. I think it's just corrosion and dust causing a short. I'm gonna screw it back together. After I clean this, because this has got all sorts of dust in it. The dust is white, almost like talcum powder. It's kind of weird. Maybe a desiccant pack was in here and it popped or something. And then I'll flip it back over and we'll listen and watch the whole story on the front, because if it's like the one I gave away on my channel a while ago, which was Mr. Christmas or something similar, the lights changed with the different rooms, and I don't know if this one does it. I haven't tried it, so we'll learn together. And as you can tell, what I let it play for that umpteen seconds was just this paragraph. You can see there's a lot more. So now we get an idea how long it talks. And I think the reason Mickey Mouse's voice went when he said not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse, is because it's supposed to be a pun that he's a mouse and he's stirring because he's talking about the poem. But I could be wrong. It's got a single finger on the bottom over here that keeps popping out. An alignment finger. That's why it was so hard to pull this one side, is because it doesn't want to recess back in underneath the power jack. There we go. There we go. If you took the screws out and you got them mixed up, the screws that go on the bottom are painted white. So you will obviously know that they're not the ones that go on the top, which are not painted for the circuit board, if you have to take it apart. The only screw that's missing is this one here for the battery cover, the safety one. And it does tell you it's a 4.5 volt, 800 milliamp adapter, not included, or 3 AA's may be used in its place. Now the adapter is the same power as Limax, but Limax does not fit because this is probably a 2.5 or 3 millimeter barrel and Limax is a 5. So if you are one of those people that has multiple houses from different companies, Mr. Christmas, Disney, so on and so forth, make sure you use the right adapters when you're switching from one to the other. A lot of the ones I get that I can't repair because the circuit boards are smoked, it's because somebody used the wrong adapter. So I guess to prevent this one from getting damaged, they use a different size. So, but you can always make it. You can always take a Limax adapter, cut the end off, and put the right size barrel on it. I thought I had one here on my bench. Probably do under all the piles of it. So I'm waiting for my hot glue to warm up. I want to glue this in, and then we're going to flip it over, and let's listen to the story. So this one was pretty simple. It just corroded. Once I got all the corrosion off and the dust, the the solder joints look good. They're shiny. They're not dull or cracking. As I've said many a times, I use magnifiers to get up close. Plus, it has the flip down, which makes it even more or a higher magnification. And then if you do have this piece and you need to open it, don't take the battery box out unless you need to fix the wires on the back of the battery box or replace the speaker. So, get the 8-year-old dried glue boogers off of here.
Was the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
Let's turn on some lights.
The stockings were hung by the chimney with care,
And it does,
in
the
hopes
lights
that
change.
St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mom in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the hills of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh, and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away all. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled! His dimples, how merry! His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
There we go. does have a bad LED though. I just noticed that right there. And I just glued that battery box in. So, other than the one LED, works again. So let's try and get you a little bit of a better close-up. You can see you got the different Disney characters. Tinkerbell, Santa, a Mickey Mouse snowman. So, all right, well, let's see what. Not sure if it's a bad LED or a bad wire. Yeah, and that's directly behind the battery box I glued in. Of course it is. Gotta love Murphy. All right, let's see if I can. Sure, bonder bonds really well, so it's going to be much harder to pry this back out. As I was watching it with you, I thought it was kind of weird that the reindeer lights, there was 7 lights lit up. I thought that was strange. Now I know why. One of them doesn't work. Maximum amount of light. Let's get some magnifiers on and take a look in here. I think it's the purple and yellow wire. That's the first one. Let's see, so that one. That one. So it should technically be this one over here. Yeah, right. Yes, so it's this one right here that is not working. Now, is it not working because the LED is bad, or is it not working because it's not getting a signal? I'll plug the battery box. I'm going to unplug it anyway because I got to clean off the glue. this neat little articulating flashlight I got now. That well, I've had it for a while. I just lost it. It might be a bad LED. It almost looks like there might be corrosion or something underneath the glue. I guess out of all LEDs, that's going to be the easiest one to get to. Alright, let's see if we can get the glue to break off of the back of the LED so I can get the LED out. They're glued in from the back. I need to tip it a little bit so I can see. Not enough yet to push it through. Used a big old glob of goo on this thing. I got some of it to break off, the glue. Now I just need to see if I can get the other side to break off. It's kind of hard because it's in a recess and my screwdriver doesn't bend around corners. How do they attach this back? The soft, spongy, like silicone. I'm thinking I might have to remove the back, but I'm going to try not to. One wire and two wires. There's some of the glue. Just make sure that we're actually getting voltage on these wires. Yeah, I know they're no longer attached to the light, but we can check for voltage because we should be getting around 2 volts maybe 1 point something to these LEDs. So I just set the house on its color, light on, and it'll give me a voltage. Still gonna get the light out and place it. Lights on. And 2.8. And apparently the purple wire is ground, or negative, and the yellow wire is hot. So, that way I know it's getting power. We have a bad LED. And that's what I assumed. So, now I just gotta spend the time and dig out all the glue. They use a lot of glue. You can see it in here. There's glue everywhere inside this little hole. I mean, look at the huge amounts of glue they use right here. But, yeah. They were very, very liberal with the amount of glue they used. Then I'll go through my LEDs and I'll see if I have a same color LED or as close to this yellow as possible. The glue is protruding through its hole. So there is another option. You can also heat this with a heat gun, make the glue pliable and try and push it through. Getting a heat gun in the back without removing the entire backer, you might burn the backer. And doing it from the front, you risk melting the paint or the snow, especially because the sparkles, yeah, never think of the word. Glitter. The glitter. You might get glitter. It might melt. So anyhow, I'm going to spend the next God knows how long digging out this light for y'all so we can get this replaced. And I'm also going to go find a new LED. So instead of wasting your time watching me do this, I'm going to go ahead and just pause it for a little bit. You can see what I'm doing. I'm digging out the front and then the back, and then I'm trying to do it to where this thing will wiggle and I can push it through. You don't want to try and pull it through because the bottom of the LED has a little flange which is thicker than the, or bigger in diameter than the face, and you risk damaging the resin house. So yeah, it wasn't as easy as it appeared to be. So, all right, I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I got it out, and that's why it was so hard. Look at all that glue. That was shoved all the way through. That's a very thick piece of resin. But I did find I have a light, and if I turn it on, look, it's the same color. So, turn it back off. Let's get the battery box out of the way again. So, putting this in is going to be a treat, and the reason I say that is, I don't know how much juice is left on this. No, that one's bad. Anyhow, the reason it's going to be a treat is because of how far it has to go through the resin. battery. Didn't drop anything important. I just dropped a wire cutter for cutting foam. So, what I did is I put a heat shrink on here. They just use glue. And I always tell people you can use glue to isolate things. That's what they did. I use heat shrink just as an added protection. What I'm going to have to do is glue this as close together as possible, using the glue as an isolator still. And then, let's see, can I slide this up a hair? And then shove it through while the glue is still, well, gluey, when it's still hot and gooey. And that'll allow it to go all the way in and then also adhere itself. But what I'm going to do is trim any of the overage from the solder real quick. And I'm going to actually heat shrink the heat shrink with a lighter. Oh, burning my finger too much. There we go. So that way when I glue it and shove it in, if the glue has any bubbles in it, it doesn't press against the connections, because that is a really hard spot to get to. Yeah, they probably did it without the backer, and of course I'm sure whoever assembled this is really good at doing the assemblies. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue between the positive and negative, letting it dry for a second. That way it can't squeeze together. Actually, I wonder if I can just stick it in and then put a dab of glue on the back, if that would work too. Let's try. Let's see. Almost got all the way in. Use a small screwdriver to clean the rest of the glue resin out that I apparently forgot to. That will make life easier if I can stick it back in the hole without it hitting any of the old glue. Also, this hole isn't straight. It goes in and then turns a little. So when they cast it, they must either cast it intentionally like that or it's a defect. But so if I can get rid of any resistance in this hole, that will make putting the new one in a lot easier. I'm trying to push the glue inside the house. So what I'm doing is I'm scraping it and then shoving it all the way to the back so it falls hopefully out the other side. Except these are too fat right here to fit all the way through. Here's an axle from a Mr. Christmas Ferris wheel. Oh yes, that goes all the way through. And I can clean out this hole. Now, I bet you the LED will fit a lot nicer. Just knocking out the glue. Hey, look at that. It came all the way out. Just like it's supposed to. Just make sure it still works. Didn't get damaged. And then we'll try and drop some glue down the backside. Woo! It works. So, unplug the battery box one more time. And now, if it's any of the other lights in here, you're going to have to remove this backer. Now, this backer is a press board, cardboard style backer. So when you do it, be careful. This around the edge here, this white, Department 56 has used it too. It's pliable in some sections and hard as a rock in others. It's kind of like a window caulking, the white from DAP. It's very similar in appearance, so it's probably not a glue as much as it is a sealant. I would try and use a small blade screwdriver and chisel it away. The heat, though, with this being cardboard, you might burn it, and that's the concern. You might try heat, maybe start at a very low temperature with a wide beam just to heat the entire area, because the cardboard's going to have a problem first, or the press board, and the resin's going to absorb a lot of the heat before it allows this to break free. So where it's starting to crack because of its age is where I would start, and then try and peel this out. Unless you don't care and you just want to rip the whole thing off, it's your piece, you can do what you want. But if you're trying to salvage it, I would recommend starting off without heat and then working your way up to heat. I'm going to have to apply it with a screwdriver. So once I squirt some in there, get that. I'm going to have to poke it onto the hole. Like that with a screwdriver. Perfect. Alright. Should be the last time I'm plugging this battery box in. I'm going to glue it back down in just a few moments. Before I do that, let's do one more low light test. So I'm going to flip it over, double check all the lights, and then we'll be good. So it came to me with a bad speaker where it wasn't playing music, and now it plays music, or the voice, as well as all the LEDs work. Look at that. All 8. So if we flip it to audio.
Was the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
The reason I'm playing it again is, if you remember towards the end of his talking, the lights did a chase pattern. I want to make sure that the chase pattern works like it's supposed to with this new LED.
I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window.
So if you want to fast forward, you can.
Or open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the hills of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what my wandering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh, and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now, Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen. On Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away all. And then in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot.
It's really loud in here. But as it's talking, like when it talks about snow, it lights up Snow White. When it talks about twinkling, you got Tinkerbell. It's kind of unique how it does actually, when it lights up the rooms for the different things, it actually lights up the rooms that might be related. Snow, the fresh snow, Snow White, twinkling out of the window, Tinkerbell because she has the little sparkles when she flies around. So it's kind of interesting they do that. Just an observation. It's the little things that are important. A lot of, like when I did custom cars, well, still talking here, the little things to the custom cars what made it stand out over the cars that just did custom paint jobs.
I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose,
hey, see, the chase. It works.
Up the chimney he rose.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
To his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle.
Now it looks better.
Away they all flew like the
And if you notice, it's chasing left to right, so it looks like they're going to take off.
As he drove out of sight.
And now it's just back and forth.
Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
There we go. And that's the LED it stops on when it turns them all on. So there we go. It has now been repaired. More than what I was told was wrong with it, so that's nice that we were able to fix that for her. So corrosion on the circuit board, causing it to not always engage the sound because it detected the switches are always shorted or always on. And it's a momentary, so it's telling the circuit board there's a problem. And then fixing the one bad LED and how to get it out. Now on this house, easiest LED is right there without removing the back. If you remove the back, then of course they're all technically easy. So it's a trade-off, but without removing the whole backer, there we go. So there we go. Look at that. All the lights work. It speaks. The volume knob works. You heard me turn it down. I actually turned it up before I turned it down because I didn't know which way the wheel spun. And so we're good. So this is the Bradford Exchange Night Before Christmas Disney Edition Christmas piece. Thanks for watching. Till the next one.